Hello, 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 everyone. So good to see you. It's almost 2 o'clock. We will get started just shortly. Let me stop sharing my sound. So good to see everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday weekend, whatever you celebrate, holiday season. Getting ready to kick off the new year 2023. So I thought I'd throw in one last workshop before the year ends. So look at that. The clock has struck 2 p.m. Pacific time. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to be here with all of you today. I couldn't think of a better place to be hanging out than with all of you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come hang out with me. Love seeing all of you. And today we're talking about overwhelm. Thought today I would kick it off with a couple definitions and see if maybe any of you identify with these definitions. It's kind of funny. I never actually looked up the definition of the word. And then when I did, I was like, the very first one says to bury or drown beneath a huge mass. Anyone feel like they're drowning under their clutter? Right? Anyone? Yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh, that's so perfect. How about to defeat completely? Anybody feel defeated and hopeless about this clutter situation? It's never going to get any better. It's always going to be the way it is. It's just going to keep accumulating, keep accumulating. Yeah, absolutely. Then giving too much of a thing to someone, but maybe it might be you accumulating so much stuff, that feeling inundated. So anybody have so much stuff that you have no idea where or how to even get started with it all? That inundation of stuff, yes. You are not alone. Super excited that you're here. But I just thought it would be kind of comical to start with the definition because I'd never done that before. So I looked that up and I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? So today is all about overwhelm. What is overwhelm? What happens when we're overwhelmed? And how to master overwhelm instead of it mastering you. Because the secret about overwhelm is that it's going to happen. It's not that it's never going to happen in your life. I experience overwhelm plenty of times in my life. It's not that it never happens. So if anybody came here thinking like, we're going to solve the overwhelm problem and I'm never going to experience it again, that's not going to happen. Sorry to burst your bubble. You will experience feelings of overwhelm, but you're going to have tools to deal with it and walk through it and master it so that it doesn't paralyze you anymore, so that you can experience overwhelm and you can still move forward. So does that sound good? Anyone want to learn how to manage that overwhelm, master it so it doesn't become the master of you? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, for those of you that are new to my community, what I like to do first is I like to hear from you. This is interactive. I'm not here doing a monologue. I want to communicate. I want to hear from you. See, Kathy's already got her hand up because she knows what's going on. There's a little virtual hand you can raise if you move, you hover your mouse on your screen. Little reaction button pops up. I love it. Eileen's got her hand up too. She has no idea what I'm going to ask, but she's got her hand up, which is great. And I want to hear from you. What made you say yes to being here? What are you feeling overwhelmed about that you want support with? Why are you here at this last workshop of the year, masterclass of the year, overwhelmed so no more? And I want to hear from you. So get those virtual hands up. I got 3 of you up. There's over 27 of you in the room. So let's get those hands up. I want to hear from you today. Look at this, the day, a couple days, what is it? 2 days after Christmas, and we got 27 people here in the room. I love it. Excited to be here with all of you. Oh, there's Miss Sharon. I love it. All right. So many good people in the room. So excited to see all of you. Get those hands raised. I want to see more hands raised before we dive in here. I want to hear from you. We get to hear from all of you. I want to know what it is that made you say yes to being here in the middle of your Tuesday afternoon. Maybe it's evening for you. Maybe it's morning for you. I don't know where you are in the world, but what made you say yes to being here? What are you hoping to get out of today? How can I support you? All right, Miss Kathy Taylor, you're up.
I even found a great holiday background.
You did.
So that was fun. Hi, I'm Kathy Taylor and I live in San Diego, California. And I am delighted to be here to be supportive of Mel and each of you, because what Mel has to share is life-changing.
Thank you.
And if in any way you relate to overwhelm or clutter, then you're in exactly the right place, because you're going to learn something that's going to change your life for the better. Because I can tell you that from my personal experience with Mel and what she teaches and what I have learned and what I have been able to accomplish this last year is beyond my ability to have believed it a year plus ago. So I wanted to tell you that's why I came. I am getting more and more decluttered in my inner and outer self around my house. I'm keeping up with it, which is the big thing. So when I get the laundry done, I get the laundry put away. When I go and make a meal, I get dishes into the dishwasher and the trash goes out to the trash. It doesn't pile up. And that is just so uplifting for me. Happy New Year. And I wanted to share. Anything else?
Oh, thank you, Kathy. And what's one thing you're hoping to get out of today that will support you?
Oh, another boost,
I
an energetic boost. But there's some overlap with things I need to accomplish today. So I am probably not here till to the end of the call, but I'm happy to connect with anybody who wants to learn on a personal testimonial level. If someone wants to do that, they can connect to Mel and Mel will connect them to me. I'm excited about moving into the next year in a better place than I was a year ago and continue that momentum, because that's the whole point of not being overwhelmed.
Awesome. So good to have you here as always. I appreciate your shares. Thank you, my love. Thank you.
My,
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Yeah. All right, Miss Eileen, what's going on? What are you hoping to get out of today, my love?
Ooh, well, I am surrounding myself with positive people and positive vibrations. I went through a really hard year with a lot of emotional overwhelm,
Yeah.
not necessarily physical overwhelm. I had the ultimate purge. Mel, you'd be so happy. I got an emotional abuser out of my home.
Yes, that is huge.
So
That's the real clutter,
yes.
right?
And it's funny, right after that happened, my stuff started selling on Facebook and I started getting rid of stuff. I was like, wow, Mel wasn't kidding. This works. But so now, unfortunately, I'm suffering from PTSD. So I'm here for the positive energy, for the support, the vibrations, and to let you all know that Mel's stuff works. If I had not been doing the Allow the Now, I don't know that I would have survived the year. And I mean, it was a really, really difficult year. But this Allow the Now every morning and every night helped me immensely. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, that's so great to hear. May I make a suggestion?
Oh, by all means, that's why I'm here.
So one of the things that I like to avoid doing is labeling anything. So we get diagnosed with things all the time. Like I was labeled all kinds of things growing up. But when we actually label ourselves something as PTSD, depressed, anxious, whatever it is, when we actually put a label on it, it implies permanence and it makes it so that we can't change.
Oh no, I know I'm going to get over this. I'm working on it, which is why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just not myself right now.
Yeah. So you may have like symptoms of this thing, but it doesn't make you You know what I mean? Like you're not PTSD, because I've been labeled that as well. But you never want to imply permanent. So I always like to remove labels and I am experiencing, whatever your symptoms that you're particularly having of that label. But I had all kinds of labels growing up, and if I bought into them, like I would never be sitting here with you. I mean, contact disorder, impulse control disorder, bipolar, borderline, depressed, PTSD. I was been on every medication known to man. So I never believed that any of them were permanent. So just wanted to throw that in there while you were here because it's not who you are. It's just a temporary experience that you're going through.
And thank you for that. I will be careful with my words going forward. That is a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, so glad you're here. So glad that allowing the now is working for you. I really appreciate
It got me through the year.
sharing.
Thank you.
That just touches my heart. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. So good to see you, my love. Miss Bonnie, what are you hoping to get out of today, my love?
I really just have to say that when you talked about activities of daily living precede decluttering, I went, okay, so I'm struggling through ADL, and all of a sudden it just said, hey, you can do both at the same time. So here and there, I just, the spot picks itself. It's just painless. I mean, it's like, I look into it, I have the time and energy, no question. And it just feels good. It's like meditation. And I'm going like, oh, well, that is like a new gear and I like it.
Yeah, it's so powerful when it just happens spontaneously and you don't have to plan and you don't have to force it. You don't have to schedule it. It's just something that happens naturally rather than this forced thing. It's so beautiful.
And the other part of it too is that like with the expansion, it's like when you can relax, you can expand.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my goodness, I've got these like, larger and larger concentric circles of competency. And it's really neat. And sometimes they contract, and that's okay because I know how to expand. It's like an accordion, because as long as I can get out to I call it universal consciousness in, regular or at least necessary increments, then it's like, oh my gosh, it really can be like fun.
Yes. Yes, 100%. It gets to be fun. It doesn't have to be dreadful. Who would like to not have dread when you're getting out from under the clutter? Imagine it being fun. Imagine it just happening. You're just like, oh my God, I want to do this right now. And you're all excited to do it rather than like, oh my God, I gotta clean out my closet or whatever. I literally just rearrange some like drawers today and purge some more stuff. It's like constant. I actually have to stop myself from doing it at certain times because it'll like the urge will come on like at like 8 o'clock at night, and I go to bed between like 8:30 and 10. So if I started at 8 o'clock at night, I wouldn't be going to bed. So oftentimes the urge is so often that I actually have to put the brakes on. We'll get to that at another time. But it's just so powerful when it comes from the inside out and you're not forcing yourself and, oh, let me schedule 15 minutes once a week to work on my stuff. It just happens. And for those of you that know my story, if you're new to my community and you don't know my story, that's just how it happened for me. I didn't plan on getting organized. I didn't try to get organized. I was trying to die. I was trying to get off the planet. I didn't give a rat's ass about getting organized. It was the last thing on my radar. And as a result of what I teach my clients, what I learned, I started to spontaneously, without effort, without planning, without forcing myself, start to declutter and create order in my environment. And I went from a cluttered mess where you couldn't walk in my room to someone who could no longer tolerate disorder. And so that's what people are talking about. They're getting the results of that spontaneity that happens when it happens from the inside out, not the outside in. Because you know what happens when you go from the outside in? Oh, let me clear the surface. Let me clear my closet. What happens is inevitably it comes back, just like the weight, just like the debt, just like the toxic relationship, all of those fun things, right? So awesome. All right, Miss Ruth, so good to see you. What are you hoping to get out of today, my love?
Well, I guess I was being overwhelmed and thought, okay, I should join this class. I've had a lot happen. in the last even 3 days. It's been crazy. My car got hit by my daughter-in-law Christmas Eve. I mean,
Oh.
Christmas night. Our 150-gallon fish tank decided to leak at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so we were all up dealing with that. So it's life just gets overwhelming. So I just thought, well, she's got to have some tips, because I did do the Now last night that probably got me through the 1 o'clock in the morning, and I actually did it for 9 minutes. I decided to time myself.
Oh,
So
love it.
I think that kept me kind of even keel. So that's what I'm wanting to do, is learn to just keep learning about what to do and being quiet.
Hmm.
And I like that you say no labels, because my husband, people have wanted to label me certain things like ADHD and other things, or bipolar. And he says, no, we are not going by any labels. So he would love that you said that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because it's true, because I don't, but like even today, because of being in the Now, I felt like I accomplished. I made a list last night. I thought, okay, what do I need to do now? You know, and get done, and I accomplished every single thing. So it was a good feeling.
Oh, that's great. Because when you get present, you allow the now, then you can prioritize and you can get clear
Yes.
about what needs to happen, and then you can take action. But if you don't
Yep.
have that clarity and you're like, into this overwhelm freak out, it's like, what do? Like, you just freak
Right.
out and you just go into overwhelm, and then you don't get anything done, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's true. So it is helping, and I haven't even been in here very long, so I'm feeling like I'm doing pretty good.
It works when
Because
you
I'm
become
fairly
willing
new.
to do it. Yes.
Yes, you have to be willing, you know, and these people that say they can't take 5 minutes, I just can't believe that. You can take 5 minutes even laying in bed going to sleep. And that's what I
Yes.
did. It's just 5
Yes.
minutes, and then it makes me sleep better. So
Right?
there you go.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes, we have 5 minutes of the day, whether you scroll on social media or you're surfing the web or shopping QVC or HSN or watching your Netflix or whatever it is you do. There's 5 minutes that you can give to yourself rather than do
Amen.
those things.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Ruth. So good to see you, my love. And so
Thank you.
glad to hear that Allowing the Now is supporting you through life, because life happens, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Miss Muriel, how are you, my love? What are you hoping to get out of today? So good to see you here.
I'm here because of the title Overwhelm. Several years ago, a friend of mine who is here, I won't say who she is, said that she was so easily whelmed. And I thought, that's me too. Not just overwhelmed, but whelmed. Things seem so big to me that I can't face them. For example, Kathy mentioned laundry, and I thought, oh, she conquered that one, did she? I have usually baskets of clean laundry in the bedroom for sometimes, let us say it, weeks before I can put them away, the clothes away. And today I blasted through and put away 2 baskets full.
Boom. All
But-
right. That's like a mic drop moment right there. Woo!
So I would like to get to the point of it being fun. And I will say I forgot to do Allowing the Now beforehand. That might have been a key thing to do.
Oh, I love that. But you've been doing Allowing the Now consistently for a long time, right? At this
Yep.
point. Yeah.
3 years, often before I go to sleep, but
Yeah.
consistently.
And if I do say
Thanks.
you were pretty resistant and didn't believe that it would work, right? In the beginning?
Yes.
How do you feel now?
Well, you got me through breast cancer, Mel. What else can I say? It's a miracle.
You did that. You were willing to do the work. I just gave you the tools. I couldn't do the work for you. So you get to honor you and celebrate you. And I love you. Thank you for
I
that.
love you too.
Thank you for sharing. Anything else you want to add? Oh, you muted. Okay, perfect. All right, Miss Mary, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, I found the first two things that I popped in here have been helpful. But I am one of those people who use the word whelmed. I am whelmed frequently, but it's not over household things so much as it's a person. I have too many hats,
Mm-hmm.
and I get behind. And then there's stealing papers to get one folder free, and then supposedly coming back to those papers, but then you don't, then the pile of paper goes this way and that way.
Yeah.
Or and you know, and I inherited a great many things, so I have pack ratitis, so that's the other thing about me. I have lots of things squirreled all over the place.
I will also suggest to you not to label yourself with pack ratitis.
No,
No
well,
labels. No, no labels. They imply permanence. You have maybe tendencies, but it's not who you are.
I'm a good pack rat. So I'm not really sure I can say that, but
One step at a time, one step. I'm just planting seeds. My job is to plant seeds. They'll take root when they take root, but I get to plant the seeds.
it's part of my childhood, so I'm not sure I'm ready to. But nonetheless, the different compartments in my life, from work, working things, and other people, and things. So those are the two clutter things that will bring about the emotional shutdown, which is the procrastination and the feeling that you don't know which way to turn.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as for 5 minutes giving myself, I can give myself a lot of time. I'm very good about that, maybe too much. That's all I
Excellent.
want to say. I just saw, I learned some things from the previous times, and I've done a little bit of that. What was in your steps, I put into practice that has weaned some of things down.
Oh,
Has organized
fantastic.
some, but we just went through Christmas, and I must say I just kind of took a dive, and I was doing a lot, and I came down with a UTI, and I
Yeah.
was then down for days, and then crawled back up, and like a demon was working into the wee hour before Christmas, but it all got done. It already got done, and Christmas was wonderful.
I'm glad Christmas is wonderful. I'd love to hear what's worked for you that you've implemented that you've heard so far.
If I can remember, but basically it was focusing on one area, kind of setting up a certain amount of time for it, and reminding yourself when to quit. If you've done that and you've put some of that away, and you've thrown away some things, or you've found some mental space by doing, you know, whatever, computer things, whatever, and then having time to think, you know, actually say you really did that. That's a step, that's progress. Because sometimes I feel there is no progress.
Yeah,
And you say,
absolutely.
what did you do at the end of the day? Oh, nothing, you know, but that's not true.
Yeah, definitely not true. You wind up doing so much more than you even are aware of. That's why sometimes I'll have my clients do what's called a done list instead of a to-do list, where you literally write everything that you do in a day and cross it off. And it's like getting up and making the bed, brushing your teeth, making yourself food, making the kids food, doing the laundry, whatever tasks you do, writing them down and crossing them out. When you look at the end of the day and you look at everything that you do in a day, you're like, oh, wow, like I got a lot done. So Glad that you're here. I appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are just joining, what we're doing right now is I just want to hear from you. What are you here for? What made you want to come to the Overwhelmed No More Masterclass? What are you feeling overwhelmed about that you would love some support around so I can serve you today? Miss Patricia, my love, what are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, first I want to give a couple success stories.
Ooh, I love success stories.
I tend to, in the past, if a situation came up, I thought I had to solve it. And I allowed my grandson to own his situation. And I gave a suggestion for it. He said, that's not going to work. And I said, well, then something will, and just dropped it. And then a situation came up with my father, also more serious, but it was a case of, and I wasn't quite as good at handling that one. It was like, well, you knew when this happened that you had certain responsibilities and you chose not to follow them. And so the situation you're in now is your fault. You've got to take responsibility and don't dump it on my brother. Because he tried to say it was all my brother's fault. And I could clearly see my brother was involved, but it was in response to what my father was doing. But then after I realized, hey, that's between my brother and my father. So after that, I stepped out and have not gone back into the situation.
Oh, that's so powerful. Look at you having healthy boundaries.
So
Good.
So that's a thank you to your Pat, to what I've learned from allowing the now is to allow other people to have their nows.
Yes, allowing the moment to be exactly as it is and not meddling, right?
Exactly. And I'm still working through things like clutter. Let's label it what it is.
Oh, you're still
And-
human? You're still human? Damn it. You didn't ascend yet. Yes, we're all still human. We'll all still have clutter, whether it's
If my deodorant's still working.
I love it. Just so you know, it's progress, not perfection. We're never done. Sorry if you thought you were going to overcome it once and for all. I, the clutter expert, still have clutter. It's just mental and emotional, and it shows up. So,
And
We're never-
but what I am doing is some things that need to be put away. I'm getting them organized, and yes, the next trip over that direction, I will put it away.
yep. Yeah, I love it. Such good stuff. So, what are you hoping to get out of today? Those are some amazing wins. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Just as you have also said, we're not here as individuals, and as a unified people working for the same goals, it encourages me that I'm not alone, and to take the next step is going to be powerful, because each step gets me a step closer. And by being here, I'm influenced by everybody else taking their next step. If they can, I can too.
Yes, yes, those borrowed benefits. I love group work because you get the borrowed benefits. When one person is struggling with someone, there's usually a majority of people in the room that are struggling with the same thing. And when somebody else learns something, everybody gets to benefit. So yes, thank you, Miss Patricia. I appreciate you, love you. Thank you for sharing as always. All right, who else wants to share? What are you doing here today? What made you say yes to being here in the middle of a Tuesday? Or whatever day, time in the world it is for you. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. What are you hoping to get out of being here? What are you overwhelmed about? Just raise those digital hands, move your cursor. There's a little reaction button down below on your computer. It'll give you the option to raise your hand like Jeff just did. I want to hear from you. What are you hoping to get out of today? Why are you here? Jeff, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of being here?
Well, this is the first time I've joined you. I should have joined a few weeks back to talk. I live in England, And I was a pediatrician until about 9 years ago. And I stopped. And then I decided to reinvent myself as a social media person and also a musician. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because that's a lot of time to work on programs, and also I write songs now. And time is my worst enemy, I think. And I live, our house has snow inside it, but the snow isn't real snow, it's papers all over the floor. And my wife wants her home back. She wants to have people in. She wants to entertain again, like we did some years ago. But I'm so bogged down with all this, these reinventions of myself, that it's a problem. Having said that, I've spent a lot of time today, as I always do at this time of year, sorting out next year's holidays, sorting out timeshare payments and all that crap, which we got embroiled in. But these things take time, and also other people mess you up, don't they? Because you've got these jobs to do, and then you find the internet doesn't work and the program doesn't work, etc., and it just spins around. And I've got objectives about. I've bought shelvings and bookshelves. I bought boxes to put things in. I bought files, but no, I just can't get into it because the computer's going wrong again. I've got 7 actually. That gives you my personality, doesn't it? I record a lot of webinars. So I have a FOMO problem as well. I don't want to miss out on anything. So it's difficult living with myself, let alone my poor wife living with me. And so I thought, well, I can't lose anything by listening to you and other people and thinking about it. I've got a plan. This year it is a plan, but I've got a house to tidy up, a garden to finish sorting out. I've got to create some income before I go bust, because I keep spending it on social media stuff. And I've got to get on top of things, but you know, I need my computers backed up and then etc. I won't bore you with it all, but you can see where my mental frenzy is occurring, and it isn't easy. But
Sounds overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, immensely.
Yes. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad you're here. It's
well-
good to see you. You've actually been in a couple of my workshops before, so it's not the first time we've met.
No, but
So
it's
good.
probably the first time I've actively participated properly.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing and being with us. So thank you so much. Great to see you. And anybody else want to share before we dive in today? Get those digital hands raised. I want to hear, what are you hoping to get out of today? Why are you here at Overwhelmed No More? What are you, overwhelmed or something? Do you feel overwhelmed or something? Anybody? Yeah. Anybody else want to share before we dive in? All right. Well,
I was
excited
going
to
to
be.
make a comment, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
We're overwhelmed by women. I think there's 3 or 4 men.
There's actually more men in here today than usual. So typically it's one man to the rest of the women. So it's great. It's
And
great
what
to
does
have
that say?
the
Is that
shift.
the women are more conscientious or are worse at clutter than the men? I'm feeling I should have been. a
Women are
woman.
more likely to ask for help. That's usually the reason. More women will ask for help in general. That's why it's typically more women to men in things like this. So
Good on you. Good on you.
yes. Well, we'll lead the way for you and make it easier for the men in our lives to be able to ask for help, right? Absolutely. All right. Anybody else want to share before we dive in? It's so good to see all of your faces and get to spend the end of the year with all of you here today. So good, so good. Yes, Anne, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today? Find that mute button. There
Okay,
you are.
I've had a week of below 0 temperatures and living in front of the wood stove, which you can see is finally off for today.
There you go. I won't tell you I had an 82-degree Christmas.
Uh, Poor you.
I know, so tough.
Yeah, so anyway, hopefully the weather will be a little warmer and I can open up this room again. Right now, it's cold in there, so I have a good reason to keep it closed.
Yeah. So what are you hoping to get out of today, my love?
Little inspiration. I spent the day going to the doctor for my nose and different things, and inspiration would be a good word.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Anything else you want to share?
Nope, that'll do it.
All right. Well, so
But
good.
I'd
to
be
see
glad to share some of your 82-degree weather.
you. Hey, come to the desert anytime. I choose to live in Southern California for a reason. I was born in Massachusetts. I don't like being cold, so I moved.
Yeah,
If you don't like where you live, move. I prefer to be warm. It's really, to me, it's cold today. It's only 66 degrees outside today. So for me, it's cold. I'm like in a long sleeve.
yeah,
And just a couple days ago, I was in shorts and a tank top hiking on Christmas. So
yeah. My son moved his family to Los Angeles from Virginia, and he's enjoying Christmas now.
yeah, absolutely. I can handle not having a white Christmas. It works for me. And I love seeing all the Christmas lights wrapped around cacti and palm trees instead of evergreens. Thanks for sharing, my love. So good to see you. Miss Jennifer, so good to see you here. What are you hoping to get out of today?
You know, I'm in the moment and allowing the now, and that is what I'm doing. Can you hear me, Mel?
Yeah, you're just a little muffled. I had to turn my volume up so I could hear you better. It's
Yeah,
soft.
that's one of the things I need to do is still, I haven't bought my new computer yet. I'm surprised this is still working, but I'm in the moment, I'm allowing the now. And, you know, as I was decluttering, I kind of just do it intuitively. I noticed, you know, I had had a conversation with my mother and I saw, wow, it's painful, but I could see this disease, this issue, the generational avoidance of relational conflict through procrastinating on getting things done and clutter. And I loved what you said in the beginning about that's the real clutter. It's that energetic stuff that is unresolved, especially between close people that haven't, you know, and that it manifests in the weirdest things. So I appreciated you sharing that, Mel. I look forward to hanging out.
So good to have you here. What a nice surprise to see you here today. So thanks for being here, my love, and thanks for being willing to come on camera and share.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to share before we dive in? I love those last minute hands that go up. I love, my favorite part is this part. Like, yes, I have stuff to teach you and it's great and all, but I love hanging out with you and hearing what you're hoping to get out of it, what your challenges are, so that I know how to support you. So anybody else want to share, just raise your little virtual hand down below. There's a little reaction button. It raises your little virtual hand so you pop up on my screen and I know who to call on. Anybody else want to share before we dive in today? All right, going once, going twice. I was sure we're done. We're ready to get started. All right, awesome. All right, so this is overwhelmed no more. That feeling of overwhelm. What the heck is overwhelm? When you're feeling overwhelmed, are you in the present moment? Are you here right now when you're feeling overwhelmed? Are you way in the future? Are you worrying? Are you stressed? Right? So ultimately what overwhelm is, when we're in this state of overwhelm, and I'm no stranger to it, I've experienced overwhelm on many occasions, but what overwhelm ultimately is a lack of intimacy with the present moment. That's why allowing the now is so powerful. And if you'd have no idea what allowing the now is, if you're new to my community, just shoot me an email. I can send you a training on it. at info@decluttering-spaces.com. We don't have time to go into it today, but allowing the now is being in the present moment. It's being intimate with the present moment. When we're overwhelmed, we're in the future. We're at, oh my God, I gotta get this done. I gotta get this done. How am I gonna get this done? And this, and there's this emotional overwhelm. And I've got this, or I've got 15 computers and none of them are working. And I gotta do this and I gotta do that. And it's not present. It's frenetic. It's scattered. And it's definitely not in the present. It's in the future, and it's a state of worrying. And so ultimately, when we're overwhelmed, what we're doing is we're not slowing down long enough to figure out what the next indicated step is, to be able to prioritize and take action. When we're in this state of overwhelm, nothing is clear, and we wind up paralyzed and not taking any action. And then things just get worse because they start to compound because we're not getting the things done that we need to get done. And so the other thing about overwhelm is we get, shall I say, payoffs or benefits by being overwhelmed. We may not be aware of it, but being overwhelmed is actually what we call a racket that we run. It's a thing that we do to gain a payoff. So if I'm overwhelmed, and that's where I go to, if I go to a state of overwhelmed, there's a payoff that I get from it, whether I get attention from people, whether I get to avoid the tasks that I don't want to do, or maybe I get to be right that, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, I don't have enough time. But there's a hidden payoff as well. And so overwhelm isn't just this state we go into because of our lack of intimate in the present moment, but it has a hidden payoff. And so without knowing it, we do it and there's a benefit. We don't really realize it until we start to think about it, but we get attention for it, we get to avoid what we're doing, we get to be right about something, but ultimately there's a hidden payoff. And so we get to figure out what our hidden payoff is when we're running the overwhelm racket. Do you get to avoid what's uncomfortable? Do you get attention from people? Oh my God, you just start talking people's ear off. Oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed. I don't have time to do this. And you're getting attention from people. Do you get to be right about the fact that you don't have the time, or you can't do this, or you're just so overwhelmed? Like, what is it for you? Put it in the chat if you know what it is for you. For me, it's definitely avoidance. When I go into overwhelm, I get to avoid what's uncomfortable. If I'm overwhelmed and I'm not in the present moment, I get to avoid what's uncomfortable. Does the feeling of overwhelm feel any better than dealing with what's uncomfortable? Not really, but I get to avoid that uncomfortability, right? And so for me, the racket, we call it a racket of overwhelm, allows me to avoid what's uncomfortable. Again, a whole other level of uncomfortability, but that's comfortable for me because I know it rather than the unknown. The overwhelm is a known feeling, but when you're up against something that you might not have the answer for, might not have the solution to, it's easier that's an unknown. So that's an uncomfortable, unknown feeling. And overwhelm is known. So it's comfortable. It's easy to go to. And it's just a default behavior or a racket to help you avoid what's uncomfortable. Or maybe for you, it's getting attention or needing to be right, proving to yourself that you're right about something. Yeah. So Camilla says fear. Mary Marcia, it's avoidance. Ditto on the avoidance. Muriel, avoidance. Yeah. Sharon, avoidance. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I love it. All right. So when you're overwhelmed, what actually happens? Are you nice and calm and peaceful when you're overwhelmed? Yeah, no. You're stressed and anxious. And if you're stressed and anxious, how do the people around you experience you? And how are you showing up in your relationships when you're stressed and overwhelmed and anxious, right? And then if you're overwhelmed, and you are not in the present moment, and you don't have enough time, and you don't have enough energy to do all these things, what else happens? You break agreements. You don't follow through on your commitments. Oh, I was supposed to be here at a certain time, but I didn't have the time. I was running late. I got caught up doing this. You break agreements not only to others, but to yourself, right? And so if you break agreements with yourself, what starts to happen? You erode the trust with yourself. And when you don't trust yourself anymore, you begin to lose respect for yourself, right? And if you're not respecting yourself, then you don't take care of yourself because you don't respect yourself. It's this vicious cycle. So anybody in the room ever broken your commitments or your word to yourself and to others? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So overwhelm just leads to all of this unfun stuff, right? Broken agreements, broken words, stress, overwhelm, affects your relationships. So how good of a racket is it by being in this state of overwhelm that you're avoiding this uncomfortable thing, but yet you are breaking your agreements with yourself, you're harming the relationships that you're in, breaking the trust in your relationships, right? Once we become aware of it, we can make a shift, but until we're aware of it, we don't know. So how do you actually master overwhelm? And so that it's not the master. Yes, Muriel, break your commitments to yourself often. Yes. Or meeting agreements, but badly. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you become the master of overwhelm rather than it mastering you? So we talked about earlier that being overwhelmed is a lack of intimacy with the present moment. And so for those of you that don't know what allowing the now is, you don't need to know for this. You can email me, but ultimately it's just when you're overwhelmed, the first thing that you get to do is to stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. Stop the monkey mind. Stop the wheels from spinning. Just stop what you're doing and take a breath. Just stop, acknowledge the fact that you're experiencing overwhelm. Be careful not to say, I am overwhelmed, because that is a label and that implies permanence, and you are not overwhelmed. You're just experiencing a feeling of overwhelm, which is temporary, which passes, usually upon acknowledgement and beginning to start to take action, overwhelm dissipates, okay? So when you are experiencing overwhelm, just stop and acknowledge the fact that that's your experience in the moment. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just an experience. So it's like, oh, I'm experiencing overwhelm. Okay, great. Now that I've acknowledged it, let me stop and breathe. Just breathe and get intimate with the present moment, because what's in the present moment all the time? Your breath. Breathing in and breathing out is the present moment. So when you just stop what you're doing and you breathe, you are in the present moment, and from the present moment, then you can move on by looking at all of the things that you're overwhelmed about, prioritizing what needs to happen, what needs to get done, and then prioritizing what is the top priority. So when I get in my head and I start worrying, it's like, oh, I got this thesis that I'm putting together, and I've got this that I need to do, and I'm traveling here, and I start to feel overwhelmed. When I stop and I breathe, then I can think about, okay, what is the next thing that gets to happen? Okay, I get to create the content for this workshop. Then I get to book my flight. Then I get to book my hotel for this. But prioritizing it from a place of being present rather than this state of overwhelm. And the minute, first, when you acknowledge it, it automatically starts to dissipate and take the power out of it. But when you begin to prioritize and you start taking action, then the overwhelm dissolves. It just magically dissolves because you're taking action. When I was well, I was basically valedictorian for a leadership class that I was in here in the Coachella Valley. And I was asked to write a speech for the graduation. And I didn't know what the heck I wanted to write it. And I'm like, what the heck do I write? So I was overwhelmed and I was avoiding it. I used my overwhelm to avoid, right? So I avoided it till it got to the point where I'm like, oh God, I got to do something about this. So I finally called my coach from Toastmasters because I was in Toastmasters, got some support. And then what I did was I broke it down into manageable steps. So the next thing, once you prioritize, is to break it down into manageable steps. The next small action. So if it's writing content, setting time aside to maybe work for 30 minutes. So for this speech, I was like, okay, I'm just going to block off 30 minutes in my calendar and I'm going to start working on this. And the minute that I committed to it and put it in my calendar and started working on it, I wasn't overwhelmed about it anymore. And the best part about it is I wasn't beating myself up for avoiding it for 2 weeks and putting it off. It was like all of that energy dissipated because I started to take action. And that 30 minutes went by easy and I got a lot written. And then next thing I was like, okay, I did 30 minutes. Now I can do 60 minutes. And I scheduled more and broke it down into smaller, manageable stuff and just taking action. And so once I was taking the action, it just dissolved all of that overwhelm and all of that self beat up for avoiding and all of that fun stuff. So that's ultimately how to manage overwhelm. It's stop, acknowledge the fact that you're experiencing overwhelm, and just take a couple deep breaths. The minute that you do that, that frenetic energy automatically starts to calm down. Then you can look at what actually needs to happen that you're so overwhelmed about, all these things on your plate, and prioritize them, and then pick what needs to happen first. And then just find a way to break it down into whatever small manageable steps that you need to, whether it's chunking out a little bit of time to work on it, or if it's clutter, just working on 1 square foot at a time rather than the entire room, 1 load of laundry at a time, get something into the wash, 1 load at a time, whatever it is, breaking it down into small manageable steps. So first and foremost, overwhelm is really a lack of intimacy with the present moment. It is a racket that we run to either avoid, get attention, to be right about something. Whatever your racket is, there's a hidden payoff to being overwhelmed. And being the way to get out from overwhelm is to just stop, acknowledge it, breathe, prioritize, and take action. Okay. And so before we wrap up today, I want to open it up for any questions and any support. Maybe you have something that you're overwhelmed about that you would like support with right now. We have a few minutes. I can support you live. And if not, I'm also I've opened up a few spots in my calendar today and tomorrow. If you're feeling overwhelmed about something you want to learn more about, how to master overwhelm, I've put some time in my calendar tonight and tomorrow to support you. It's my gift to you, generous for the holidays before the start of 2023. I just really want to support you in kicking off 2023 so it can be the best year of your life. Yes, Miss Jennifer, go ahead and unmute, my love. Oops, you're muted. Gotta find that mute button.
Thank you so much, Mel. I've been spending this session just breathing into the pain in my body as a result of having been triggered with my mother's limitations. And for me, like, I don't know, I'm just staying present with it and allowing it to move through. And that is part of this process, I guess, for me of decluttering, and it's an energetic piece. I guess I'm sharing it because I wondered if you had any experience with that you know, when you're in that, say you get triggered by something that's painful, and it's really there. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean and I love looking at language as well. So for the longest time I used the word triggered. Now because of my dear friend Sharon, that's in this room today, I use the word activated because it doesn't have a negative connotation. But when we get activated by something, it's an indicator that we have healing to do. It's just it's a gratitude thing. We get to be grateful when we get activated because we become aware of something that we get to shift. And if we don't get activated, it's like if I called you a green frog, like that has no effect on you, right? Because there's no activation there. But whatever is activating you, it's activating you because there's something unresolved there. And it's an indicator that you get to be present with whatever that is and resolve it. Because anytime we're activated by something outside of ourselves or someone outside of ourselves, it never has anything to do with the other person. Because if we're a green frog, if we are not a green frog, we're not going to be activated by it. But if we're activated by it, we're the ones that are activated by it, not the other person. They're just the mirror for us, holding up the mirror so that we can see ourselves, because we as humans don't have the capacity to see ourselves. That's why the outside is a mirror of the inside. We can't see ourselves, so we can only see ourselves in others. That's why when you're pointing the finger at someone else, you've got 4 pointing back at yourself, because we can't see ourselves. We need others to reflect back to us. And so when we get triggered, my suggestion is to have gratitude for that activation when you're feeling activated, and then use it as an opportunity to look at, okay, what's getting activated in me? What still gets to heal inside of me so that this isn't an activation anymore? Because we get activated until we're not activated anymore, until we clear it. Does that help? Is that supportive?
Yeah, I mean, and I can just say in a nutshell, in this case, it's just holding, I mean, it's a deeper opportunity to separate. My mother didn't know how to consider me an important priority in her life. That hurt my inner child. And it's my chance to just hold that part of myself and let my mother be who she is, and not take it personally, but also love myself as if I matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And one step further, one of the things that I love to be aware of is that my belief is that we choose our parents and we choose our experiences. So our soul chooses that before we come in so that we can learn the lessons that we need to learn. And so everything that my mother, quote unquote, did to me, I see as for my benefit. My mother abandoned me on the side of the road multiple times, left me on the streets homeless, has done so many things. And for the longest time, I had so much resentment and anger and stuff towards her. But when my perspective shifted from being a victim of what she did to me choosing those experiences so that I could be who I am today, the healing was so profound in that shift and seeing that everything is for me, not to me. I hope that supports.
Thank you, Mel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else have questions or something you're struggling with that you want support with, you're overwhelmed about, that I can support you with here now? Yes, Miss Mary Marcia, go ahead and unmute, my love. And I'm going to put the link back in the chat again. If you don't get support here, I'm opening up my calendar. So just click on the link now. There's a few spots tonight and a few spots tomorrow. So click the link, get on my calendar. Let me support you before the end of the year. So 2023 is the best year of your life. Who's ready to have the best year of your life in 2023? Who is ready, right? So click that link. Let's get you on fire for 2023 and mastering overwhelm and out from under all the clutter. Awesome. Yes, Miss Mary Marcia, how can I support you, my love?
So if we focus on something like what Jacques was talking about, is that as you're currently going in, you have a couple of different things you're trying to do. How do you organize that so that you just don't have it like all over the place?
Give me an example. What do you mean?
You said that the priority to manage steps and take action, but
Yeah.
when you, during a day, you are taking action, working on the thing, but it creates details. And you have the details pile up for different, say, 3 different things that you need to get, that you're working on.
Mhm.
And now the details for that thing are all mixed up.
So in your working on them, you're creating more chaos.
Yeah,
Do you have a system for organizing the stuff as you're going through it? So what I'm talking about is, when you have multiple tasks that need to get done and you're feeling overwhelmed by the tasks that you need to get done, taking a breath and okay, what's the most important thing that needs to happen now, and taking action on that. If then you're taking action, but you're creating more chaos in the process, we get to jump on a call. So click the link, book a time to speak with me. It's completely free. This is my support for you. So let me support you in that more, because that's more detailed about handling the clutter. But breaking things down into small manageable steps and prioritizing is the action that you want to take. But I highly recommend you just click the link and get on my calendar. Oh, thanks, Muriel. To everyone, talk with Mel when you get the chance. She's so helpful and encouraging. I love you, Muriel. Thank you so much for that support. You're amazing. Ms. Ruth, go ahead and unmute, my love. How can I support?
Well, actually, I was going to make a comment to those two, because I had issues with that. And even just taking the little bit I've done with you today, I put into practice what you're talking about, just doing the now. So I had certain things I needed to get done. And one thing that I took another clutter, I had a declutter book years ago, and it was a lady that actually used to clean the White House. And she said, you start at the beginning and you go to the door, from the doorway that people are going to see first. And you work on that and just even take a half an hour, and you go and do the next step and you do half an hour. And my mom and I did her house that way, is like, take a half an hour and work on that cabinet, and then go to the next step. And that's being in the present now and thinking in your mind, and you're doing the now, thinking through that you're going to do these steps. And it goes back to what you shared, prioritize, take your steps. Personally, that's how I got through my day today, because I already felt overwhelmed with lack of sleep and everything. We're still dealing with the fish tank and blah, blah, blah. But it was like, okay, how do I want to do what I need to do today? What's important? The first thing was the dishes. I did the dishes. The second thing was laundry, and so it's just one thing at a time.
Yep.
And don't feel like you have to work, I guess. I thought, okay, this is how much time I want to take. This is how much time I want to take. And that's what I feel like you're saying in your stuff. And it kind of is encouraging to me to know I'm already kind of getting what you're talking about.
Yes, you're getting it. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
And remember, you're only
and I'm
one
hoping I can encourage somebody else. You can do it. You just don't think you have to work. Like you said, you don't do certain projects because you're going to be so long at those projects. So it's like, okay, I have 20 minutes, set a timer if you need to. You have a half an hour, do it a half an hour. And that, like even the lady who did the laundry, that's how she did it.
Yep.
She put her stacks. I saw her little note. She put her stacks, and I'm thinking that's what we need to do for each other, is just take one little section and you can do it.
Yeah. And remember, you're only
floor is a
one
mess. Take a half an hour and clean up the floor.
Yes. Just take the little bit of time. And remember, you're only one person, so you can only do one thing at a time.
Right.
What's the next thing that you can do? And if it's working on something for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but taking that action, it's like the way that I deal with laundry is usually if I have laundry, as soon as I brush my teeth in the morning, I go throw the load in the wash and I set a timer. And then when the timer goes off, I go put it in the dryer and I set a timer, and then I fold it. But it's just, it's getting done while I'm doing other things. So my laundry is going while I'm doing my morning routine. And then I have a load of laundry done by like, you know, because I get up super early. So usually by 5:36 in the morning, my laundry's done because I'm up early. But it's breaking it down into small, manageable chunks and tasking it, just prioritizing. It's okay, I'm going to throw the wash in. Well, then I'm going to go do this. And then I'm going to spend time doing this. And I'm going to get my morning reading in. And then I'm going to work on email. And then I'm going to do, you know, prioritizing your day and taking little action. And then you feel super freaking accomplished because you get so much shit done. Especially when you get up early in the morning and by 10 o'clock, you've got so much done. You're like, oh, I could take the rest of the day off. Those are my favorite days. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ruth. So good to see you. Anybody else want some support or have questions before we wrap up today? And again, I'll put the link in the chat. So just, you know, if you want to learn more about this overwhelm thing, you want to learn more about allowing the now, I've opened up some time today and tomorrow so I can support you in really starting the new year off right. 2023 gets to be the best year of your life. And it gets to get better and better and better. When people ask me how I'm doing, how life is going, my response is always, it gets better and better every day. And that's 100% possible because it's your birthright to thrive in every area of your life. And that means mastering overwhelm so that you can manage it and you can walk through it when it shows up. And then you can start taking action and having the success in your life. Because when you accomplish those tasks that feel overwhelming, that sense of accomplishment and that dopamine hit is freaking fantastic. And you'll want to keep getting it. When you book the call, you're going to get a confirmation email, Eileen. It's going to be a Zoom call. So you'll get a link to jump on a Zoom room with me. So you'll get a confirmation email. And in that email will be a link to click to jump in a Zoom room. Awesome. Looking forward to speaking with you. So that link, the chat keeps going. I love it. You guys are popping in the chat. So yes, timers for almost everything. That's an idea to think about, Sharon. Yes, timers are great. Even if it's 5 minutes, you can get so much done in 5 to 15 minutes. The other day, I bought risers for my bed, and I have a king size bed, and I had 15 minutes between calls, and I'm like, I can get this done in 15 minutes, like literally tearing all my bedding off, moving my king size mattress, getting the feet underneath, vacuuming underneath the bed, like got it done in 15 minutes and was ready to, I was like, oh, you can just get so much done in 15 minutes. So just even giving yourself 15 minutes on a task, you will be so surprised at what you actually accomplish. You will be surprised at what you accomplish just in 15 minutes. So I challenge you, just break your tasks into 15 minutes. Spend 15 minutes working on something rather than taking on this, oh, I'm going to work on it for an hour. And then that's overwhelming just in itself, right? Just 15 minutes. Yeah. And then whenever you have free time, it's like, don't go empty handed. Pick something up as you're walking across the room and put it away. Yes. I challenge you, she says, Muriel. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome. All right. So let me put the link back in the chat. Here we go. And if you have any questions, anybody else have questions? I'm here to support. Book a time to chat with me. Hold on just a second. Let me respond to this chat. I can't talk and type at the same time. There we go. Awesome. Yeah, so the link is in the chat. Anybody else have questions or want support right now before we jump off? Going once? Going twice. Yes, go do 15 minutes worth, Camilla. Super, 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 super. Before and after photos. Yes, 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 yes. All right, so click the link if you haven't already. Book a time to speak with me. There's a few appointments today and a few appointments tomorrow. Let me support you in starting 2023 off on the right foot because it is your birthright to be free from clutter. Anybody want to be free from clutter in every area of their lives? Not just the physical stuff, the emotional stuff, the head stuff, the excess weight. That is your birthright. And I figured out how to do it. I was overweight, I was a drug addict, I was homeless, and I've had all the different manifestations. So overwhelm is just one of those manifestations, one of those fun little ways clutter shows up. So let me support you. Click the link in the chat, book a time to speak with me now. And I look forward to talking to all of you. If nobody else has any questions, I love you all. Thanks for spending your Tuesday afternoon with me. Sending you so much love. Enjoy, all of you. Happy New Year if I don't talk to you, and love you all. My pleasure. See you guys later.
Thank you.
My
Bye.
pleasure. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being one of our token males. We need more of you.
I don't know where the other ones
Invite your
are. Maybe-
friends.
Bye,
Yes,
Mel.
invite your friends. There you go. That's right. That's right.
See you later.
All
Bye
right. See you
very
guys
much.
later. Happy New Year. Love you all.